I am here today with Andrew Lobaczewski, the author of the book Political Ponerology, a science on the nature of evil adjusted for political purposes. As you may know, the Quantum Future Group has been doing research into the question of psychopathy for several years. And one day we received in the mail a copy of a manuscript written by Andrew, the manuscript of Political Ponerology, which we found to be a missing piece in our understanding of the way the world works. So today we're going to talk with Andrew about his book and his ideas. Can you tell us a bit about your background and what it was that brought you to the study of psychology?
Also, I was a man with technical education, and I earned for life as a constructor of heating systems, whereas it permitted me to study. I studied to the Jagiellonik University in Krakow. At this time, the old pre-war professors were still active. They fired them during the last year of my studies and exchanged by the so-called communists. So I am educated just by the wise professors.
Why was it that you decided to change from your technical heating systems work and go and study psychology?
This was in common with my family problems, because I had very confused problems with my childhood, and I wanted to understand this, and idea to become a psychologist was growing with me gradually just during the war.
How did you spend the war? What were you doing during the war?
Our real estate was far from any main roads from the towns, and in such conditions we saw the Germans very rare.
So then, when the war ended, you began your studies at the University of Psychology. What was your introduction to the question of psychopathy?
This came with and at the end of my studies last year, with the compulsory Marxistic schooling, where a psychopath lectured this, and we were forced to hear seriously and without joking, and we could study his psychopathic personality.
Can you describe for us the effect that he had on the students?
The effect was traumatizing for all. For all audiences was traumatizing, but in very different degree. Some people, majority of the people appeared immune, but the small part of the students submitted to our induction process. They became to think like this professor. They became no more friendly. They changed their mind, and I described it as transpersonification. So probably I was not first who used this word. Somebody of colleges used first this word. And this was the beginning of all studies of this system. And In beginning, there are many persons who wanted to understand this problem. But it was not easy for me too to find a proper scientific material.
You describe in your book that there was a group of students who were your friends, and that you would be in the class and you knew something was going on, but you didn't know what it was, and it was only when you would get outside of the class and you would go to the mountains together,
Yes.
and you would get away from it, that you could begin to have more of an objective view, and you could discuss together about what was going on.
No, what was the beginning of these studies in psychopathology, in psychopathic personality? Because it was very good defense of own personality to study the professor's psychopathic personality.
Hmm.
This was a good. It provides some kind of mental hygiene for us.
Mm. Then you describe in your book that to deepen your understanding, you went into the library and you saw that the texts that were all about psychopathologies had been removed
Yes.
from the library.
All libraries have been searched for such books. When at our department was a library, not the main library of the university. They took all out.
Mm. And what was your reaction when you went into the library and you saw that these books had been removed?
Yes, I couldn't use these books anymore. This was so shocking, because in beginnings at this time, all people couldn't understand this system. Instead of the Polish community was much better informed what is going for in Soviet Union. It appeared that this system is completely different from our imagination.
The system that they were bringing and imposing on Poland was different from the image you had of what the system was in the Soviet Union.
This was essentially different.
And in what way was it different?
No, because it appeared anything strange and finally difficult to understand. The many problems were, why such quite decent people changed their mind and followed this crazy, bloody authority. Why? And why I not? And the other, and the majority, do not submit to this system.
What was the answer that you found to that question? Why?
Answer.
Why you were not affected by it or infected by it?
No, these answers came after years of studies, reflection, discussions. These answers came. I give in the book. This came not so easy.
Did you have friends among the students who were very, very affected?
Yes. Yes.
And what kind of change did you see in them after this new teacher came in?
No, they became psychologically dependent from this professor. These guys, they are results of psychological induction, psychopathological induction. Also phenomenon known to psychiatrists since many years, the psychopathologic induction.
Can you explain in more detail what that involves? Because some of other people that are watching this won't know that term.
Their personality submit to this way of thought, to this way of feeling of the professor.
So there's a change in their personality?
Yes, it is the change of their personality.
So these people who may have seemed normal before
Yes.
began to become kind of extremists, communist extremists, or very dogmatic in their thinking?
Some became dogmatic, extreme Communist Party members, and some then removed.
Mm-hmm.
Because this state of induction wasn't permanent, very permanent among them.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very common under the Soviet rule. That some people, after a time of being fiercely communist, then they removed, joined to the community, became more mild.
Mm-hmm.
Only these people who were born psychopathic stick to this system fiercely.
Mm-hmm.
All such teachers of the doctrine joined the same kind of psychopathy, the essential psychopathy.
Mm-hmm. And so these other people who became temporarily under the influence, were these what you describe in your book as characteropaths or schizoids?
No, not. Because the majority of characteropathic persons did not follow this system. This system is based on the hereditary transmitted abnormalities.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of the people with various results of brain trauma and brain lesions and so, they suffered much more than the normal people.
Mm-hmm.
And they were anti-communist,
Mm-hmm.
because they suffered more, because they suffered two problems.
There was a certain percentage of people with the characteropathic abnormality who did not go into the communism and became ferociously
they did not gravitate to the communists. Generally, in genesis of evil, they played an important role, these people. But this is in concern problems of families, problems of individual people. They are troublesome in the community, and they cause much evil. But they did not gravitate especially to this system called communism.
But the evil that they were creating in the community, was this working to support the communism in some way?
They usually joined the party, and being so created the more liberal wing of the party, and they were not so. Sometimes they were useful for the community, because they intermediate between the
essential
normal communities, the community of normal persons, and the system. They were speak with the system and with the normal people. They are numerous in Poland.
Yeah. Oh.
They played they had a special function in this system. Because for a normal person to talk with these so-called communisms was a very, very unpleasant situation. They were arrogant, they are benigning the people, snapping, and so on. And these people, they intermediated between this.
So without that intermediary group, the system couldn't have survived.
Yes, without this intermediated group, the system could difficult survive.
Mm.
Because the number of these fanatics, pathologic fanatics, was too small.
Mm-hmm. In the group of friends that you had at university who resisted and who found an immunity by talking together about what was going on around you, did others of them continue in the research the way you did after you left university?
No, from my colleges nobody. Because the work was initiated by the older generation, by the generation of our professors.
The one that had the knowledge and could see
Yes.
what was happening.
This started with them, and the people from other countries, where they communicate with the people from Hungary and other countries, and even from Soviet Union. They are all professors and psychiatrists of older generation, so that nobody lives now of them.
Mm-hmm.
In Poland was the professor Lobaczewski from Poznań. He was murdered. He was recognized as being involved in this, and he was murdered. He was arrested and poisoned in arrest and left home, and he died home. And one Hungarian professor was treated the same way.
Mm.
And the other has got the passports.
Mm.
And they didn't know that I was involved in this. They didn't got any information.
Mm. And did you begin, or did you continue this research from the time
Yes.
you were in university?
I continued this research to get it, to fulfill it, to order it with readable.
Mm.
No, this was my work. It is so as I write, there is not possible to distinguish what comes from each person.
Mm. In terms of the Polish population, because the regime in Poland was imposed from the outside,
Yes.
it was always clear to the people that this was a foreign thing.
Because this resembles the times of before the World War I, when then Poland was under partition among three emperors.
Mm-hmm.
And this was for minority was a foreign-born system, and the Russian system. So felt the average people. And this system was Russian.
Mm.
It was a Tsar, as the Stalin said, I am just now a Tsar.
Mm.
Я теперь Tsar.
And so what were the relations among the normal people under this system?
Yes, in beginning this relation among normal people was disrupted completely. The people have been felt intimate, felt not could they didn't trust among themselves.
Mm.
And then gradually this separation of the community of normal people and the system has became fixed, more fixed, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And the people recovered, and finally the people spoke all among themselves. Even the people who met themselves, they spoke.
And so there would be people, normal people who
felt themselves immediately.
Mm. And there would be people with a good understanding of what was happening who could help immunize other people to say, well,
yes, before all they protected the children.
Mm-hmm. And in what ways did they protect? In what ways did they protect?
That explained them how they could. That this is a foreign-born system. That this is the crazy system. They were told that this is kukunamonism. No, not communism, but kukunamonism.
Oh. In your book, you are trying to take the study of evil and move it from being studied in a moralistic way to being studied in a scientific way.
Yes.
Can you explain how the recognition of psychopathy helps us to move it onto a scientific basis instead of a moral basis?
I was requested to make some investigation in psychopathy. I was told nothing about that it has to serve this general investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was requested to make some scientific research in psychopathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this. But I immediately understood what is the aim of this.
And who was it who asked you to...
Yes, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was younger than I, and he may live, but I don't remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
This was so that the people was still cautious.
Yes.
And I had the experience of conspiration from the time of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And do not know the names. The names are odious.
Mm-hmm.
Do not ask who is who.
Mm-hmm.
If you are arrested, then you really don't know.
Mm-hmm. And were you arrested?
3 times.
3 times?
And I was afraid to be arrested for 4th time. This is an unpleasant situation.
What happened when you were arrested? When was it the first time? Yes?
And I waited for long, stood and waited, and the people who organized this took these banners, red banners, put it on the grass, on the and were sitting or laying there on this, and he put such a banner and gave me to bring on the front, and he was stick to his
dog shit.
And I said, if you did so, take this banner and bear it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I was arrested. This was very, very bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
No possibility to say anything. All protocols written by them.
Mm-hmm.
They could write what they want. They put me in the water bunker, where the water was on the floor, and this is so low that I couldn't stay. And the worst was this, there was no air. And this was dangerous situation, because this may lead to the brain damage.
Yeah. And how long were you in this?
1 week.
1 week.
1 week. And then I was put just to the normal prison. And finally they closed this all.
Mm.
Because they couldn't make a court procedure, because I couldn't say what it was.
Mm-hmm. And in your book, you describe the final time you were arrested, and by then, the third time you were arrested, by then the situation had changed.
Yes, that. So the people adapt to this system.
Mm.
They must adapt. But now is the problem, how readapt to the normal way. Many people can't do it.
Mm.
And many people became so adapted to the pathologic system that the readaptation to the normal system is just, and they are sometimes too old to readaptate to the normal system, to become think as a normal people do.
So this is a problem in Poland and in the other Eastern
It is a
countries
basic
today?
problem in Poland
Mm.
and in other post-communistic countries.
Mm.
That the people can't go out. Each normal person has to adjust to this system, and because must to live in such condition. And the influence of the pathologic matter pressed in the human brains still remains there, and many such people are not able to recover and return to the normal world.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment when you began to feel that the tide had turned, that people were beginning to take back their lives, and you saw that the pathocratic system was beginning to fail?
I was at this time, I was in America.
Yeah.
And from the side, on other side of ocean, many problems are not easy visible.
Mm.
We sometimes understood wrong the situation in Poland.
Mm. Are there still psychopaths in power in Poland today?
No, they are still They change. Oh, they change the mind very easy, the psychopaths. Just now they became very pious. And say that the Holy Mother gives them money. And manage anyway how to live without work.
Which they're very good at doing.
And the upper class, they change very quickly from communism to capitalism. This is essential to understand this system, because for them the ideology was nothing worse. They had their own secret ideology, being difficult to understand for normal people.
So would you go so far as to say that there is still a pathocracy in Poland today?
This is still this pathocracy in Poland. This gradually cease to exist. This is the process which needs time. Some of these people may die away, must die away. And the young people came and they owned big factories, they owned banks. They are rich. Just now they are capitalists, just now. And the normal people are poor. And the party of normal people has no money for propaganda. And they have a lot of money, and they got additional money from abroad.
But you are hopeful that with time...
This sickness of the community must be overwhelmed gradually. This community is permanently sick.
Do you think that there are any communities anywhere in the world that are not sick? Are there some healthy communities in the world?
No,
in other
because
countries?
there is no community in the world where some psychopaths do not exist. And they are different from the normal people. And they dream about overcast their rule in each country. And they dream about this, that other people will work and they will live well. This is the main idea.
Yes.
Because they are poor workers in any realm. And the main idea is to live of these stupid normal people work. This is the main idea.
In your book, Political Ponerology, you discuss the hystoroidal cycle. The hystoroidal cycle?
Hysterical cycle.
And you say, when you wrote the book, which was now more than 20 years ago, you say that the United States is beginning the cycle that Europe was beginning at the beginning of the 20th century.
The highest point of hysterization in Europe was the break of centuries, 19th and 20th century. And I believe the highest point of hysterization in America was about 1980, when I was in America. And just now America goes up in this sinusoid.
Mm.
And that this theory is not so new, because this was studied by my professor who lectured the psychiatry was expert in these cycles. It is my idea that the large crisis comes in a quarter of century later, when the situation goes up. Already when the human minds recover from this hysterical state. This is the time when the worst crisis comes. Not in the point of highest hysterization, but about 25 years or 15 years later or more.
So if the high point for the United States was in 1980, 25 years later is where we are now.
Now.
So this is the danger point.
It is a gender point. This is my idea.
We saw in the 20th century that we had the First World War, then the conditions, very harsh conditions were put on Germany after the war, which permitted the coming to power of Adolf Hitler in 1933. How would you describe Hitler? Was Hitler, what kind of a pathological type was Hitler?
No, the problem of Hitler's psychopathology is rather confused. Because, he joins this part of hereditary psychopathology, which is mixed, the different, a bit essential psychopathy, a bit another thing, may cohere it in one person. And this is difficult to analyze. But he was a psychopath, born psychopath. I presume that our knowledge in all these problems of psychopathy, particularly in problems of psychopathy, is insufficient for solving many problems. We have no knowledge about biological nature of psychopathy, no knowledge about heredity, no knowledge on heredity of other kinds of psychopathy, because we mean still about the essential psychopathy, but there is schizoidia, there is another kind. Our knowledge is too poor, barely sufficient for understanding the macrosocial problems, but not for solving the individual problems. And the progress in research in this field is necessary, because it opens the way for solving the total problem. Each searcher of these problems is to be supported. This is my main idea, because only the firm basis, scientific basis, may lead to solving these problems. For lawyers, for historians, this is very, and for the theologian, it is very difficult to accept.
Yes.
But if you exactly study the Holy New Testament, you will find anything which corroborates our position, not their position. And as it concerns these people who cause evil, being due their effects of brain lesions, of the atrophy of some centers, this may be just reduced by medical service.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, the damage of the prefrontal fields, as Stalin was, has been reduced by the doctors, by the care for newborn,
Mm-hmm.
to the a fifth part, as it was before the World War IV and the times.
Mm-hmm. So the
And
character of
the
paths.
cases we meet just now, these are lighter cases.
Mm-hmm.
They cause the troubles too, but not so very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an instance that much may be done.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
And these are the people who in some way give the support to the essential psychopaths, as you were describing in Poland, the intermediary
yes,
between normal people and the essential psychopaths. So if this population is reduced, there are fewer and fewer people who will be able to offer the support.
my idea must be to propagate such eugenic morality, that the people know that if I am mentally and physically healthy, strong, and it is my duty to have children.
Mm.
Yes?
Yes. To kind of sum up what you are saying and what you are saying in your book, Political Ponerology, we have a question of evil that we have been looking at for thousands of years in moral terms. And we judge people as being good and bad. And you are saying that there is a very small percentage of people who are like crocodiles or like the
No.
cat that plays with the mouse. This is who they are. They cannot be something else. And so we cannot judge them with the same moral terms that
Yes,
we
you are
use
right.
for ourselves. We have to understand who they
Yeah.
are, and we have to help them and isolate them from positions of power in normal society,
Yes.
so that normal society, normal people can rule itself and help these other people who are not like us.
Yeah. And overuse of moralistic terms
Mm.
in these matters is dangerous.
It's dangerous.
We might think with objective in objective terms and not use the moral terms, because the moral terms belong to the common sense but not to the scientific way of thought.
We would like to thank Andrew Lobaczewski for being with us today and for having this discussion. We suggest that everyone needs to start learning about psychopathy and should read Andrew's book, Political Ponerology. We think it's really the only way, coming to this understanding and getting knowledge about psychopaths and the way they work together is the only way that we will be able to create a future for our children and our grandchildren.